Hello, and welcome to the Atheist Experience. I'm your host, Matt Dillahunty. Joining me this week, Tracy Harris.
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
We're so glad you could join us today. Oh, screw all that. We're live like normal. Today is Sunday, August 17th, 2008. Thanks to everybody who's joining and watching us live.
Chocolate.
Well, basically what I wanted to say is God is obvious and religion is suspect. And basically I've tried to figure out if the golden rule is the ultimate strategy.
Okay.
And I feel that...
Can we back up half a second?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Can we back up just a little bit? When you say God is obvious but religion is suspect,
Yes.
I'm not quite sure I understand what you're meaning by that.
Well, for me, in my belief, I just believe in God.
Okay.
I believe that God is all-powerful, all-knowing, and I think there's a couple other ones.
Sometimes there's omnibenevolent, but that conflicts with certain
Actually,
others.
omnipotence itself conflicts with itself.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a logical inconsistency there. So you pick the definition of God because that's the one that you preferred, and then you also think that it's logically supported. And yet, omnipotence in and of itself is logically contradictory.
All-powerful is contradictory?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, not to toss out a tired old canard, but Carlin brought up the, can God make a rock so big that even he couldn't lift it? I realize there's an equivocation fallacy in there with regard to powerful, but omnipotence implies you could possibly do something that's logically contradictory. And most new theologians have a special definition of omnipotence, which is God can do everything that's not logically impossible. In order to avoid that, but then omnipotence comes into conflict with other things like omniscience and omnibenevolence. But anyway, I'm curious as to how do you define God, and why do you believe that this God actually exists? I guess the question.
Okay. Well, basically, it's in the definition itself. You know, somebody will say something, and then I'll say, define consciousness.
Right.
And if it gets to the point where if you can't define God, if you can't define consciousness, if you can't define all-powerful, or if you have trouble and you find out that hey, this, if you look at it this way, it's one way, or if you look at it this way, it's another way. I've never come across anybody that's come across with a really good definition of God.
So I would agree.
Okay.
So, but basically, the question it comes down to if you believe humans are the only ones that have consciousness, or animals are the only ones that have consciousness, or can rocks have consciousness and stuff like that. Then you get back to, okay, well, we don't even have a definition of God anymore. And
I don't know that got anywhere close to explaining to me what God you believe in and why.
Well, I believe God is what is going on right now is God's purpose or God's plan. And I believe that there's only one God because there's only one way that things can unfold.
I don't see any justification for, apart from your wanting to believe that there's a God with a plan, but your assertion that there's only one way things could have unfolded from the time of the Big Bang is not only wrong, but if it's true, then you're an automaton with no free will and everything you do is pre-programmed.
Well, maybe free will is an illusion.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that
There's
concept.
no way to prove that there is such a thing as free will.
I'm fine with that concept, but I'm still trying to figure out what your justification was for the first two, that a God exists and he's got a plan, apart from one of them.
And I still don't know what he's calling God.
Yeah, and you still haven't defined God. And you keep coming back to consciousness.
Okay, well, I believe
in
God, but then again, I believe that God can't be defined.
Well,
so
then we can't know
it's
what
like
you're
saying
talking
I
about.
don't believe in God, but there's no way I can prove it.
If you believe in God, but God can't be defined.
Then
so
you don't even know what you believe in.
Yeah, you believe in a completely absurd, abstract concept.
I believe in something, but I don't know what it is.
That's silly. I mean,
Well, that's like saying that there's an ultimate strategy. I believe in an ultimate strategy, but I don't know what it is.
But my point is God is not a strategy in that I know what a strategy is, but I don't know what a God is.
There's an explanation for this universe, or
Right.
there's an explanation for parts of this universe that we understand,
Okay.
but there is no explanation for everything in this universe that we understand.
Right now, so-
whether
so
there is
basically-
an
I wanna know
ultimate
what he's talking
explanation
about.
or not, we can't say. But
No,
we
no, no.
can say there are small explanations that we can understand.
So what you're saying is because we don't know everything now, some things,
well,
this justifies
okay.
a God that you haven't defined?
Wait a minute, how can I talk to somebody about something that they can't even tell me what it is we're talking about?
You know, there are strategies out there,
Okay,
but is there an ultimate strategy? Is there
No.
an ultimate plan?
no, there's not. There's not an ultimate strategy, and your assertion that we can't know that is flatly wrong. Because if you're looking at an ultimate strategy as something that can get you to all goals, some goals are in direct conflict.
Correct.
And therefore you cannot have an ultimate strategy. Much the same way that you cannot have an omnipotent, omniscient, omnibenevolent God. It's logically impossible.
I don't see I don't see why there can't be an ultimate strategy.
Okay, here's an example. Let's say that tomorrow some farmer hasn't gotten rain on his crops in like 6 months. He really needs it to rain on his crops. In that same town, there's a woman getting married. She's getting married outside. She really needs it to not rain outside. If there are goals that conflict, how can there be an ultimate strategy?
Well, one would have the ultimate strategy, and the other one would have a less than ultimate
Well,
strategy.
the ultimate strategy for the bride is that it does not rain. The ultimate strategy for the farmer is that it does rain. How do you...
But one of them is misrepresenting an ultimate strategy.
Well, no, it would be really a problem if it rained on her wedding, and it would be really a problem if it doesn't rain on his field. They both have legitimate, concerns.
But neither one of them, both of them have strategies, but neither one of them have ultimate strategies.
But you're asserting that there could be an ultimate strategy and that this ultimate strategy would necessarily be universal. So there must be, according to your assertion, an ultimate strategy that would work equally well for both of them, and I'm saying that there can't be.
No, I'm not saying that it could work for both of them, because then it would not be an ultimate strategy.
Okay.
And that therefore
that's the
proves that
point.
there's only one God.
That's the point that I'm trying to make. The fact that you couldn't come up with a strategy that would work for both of them because there's a conflict.
And a compromise
a
means
logical
it's not ultimate.
contradiction,
Yeah.
which makes this impossible. It's like square
So it's
circle.
impossible to have two gods, but it's not impossible to have two humans.
Whoa. First of all, if you're going to just say God is strategy, as Tracy tried to point out, why don't we just use the word strategy?
Okay.
Second of all, where do you get off saying that there can only be one God?
Because there can only be one ultimate strategy. You can't have two
So-
Why do
ultimate
you assume
strategies.
that?
Because they could conflict.
I work as a project manager, and one of the things I realize is that there are sometimes equivalently efficient ways to achieve the same goal, and it's just a matter of which you prefer. It doesn't matter. You can do it this way or that way. Why is that a problem, that there could be equally efficient means of achieving the same ultimate goal?
Because you're talking about human beings, and their strategies are flawed, and although, both of them can succeed with their strategies, both of them can fail with their strategies, neither one of them is an ultimate strategy. They are limited strategies.
Why couldn't there be an ultimate strategy that could be achieved by multiple equally efficient means?
Because then you would have a unmovable object and an unmovable force acting on that object.
There's the
You can't have
contradiction that
It would
made
be
me say in the first place that your ultimate strategy thing is wrong.